Hey guys, it is Sunday night and we are here with a very special Speedway chat show. It's going to be very different. We have no Charlesy today. He's stuck at work. He's on his way home. He's going to get here as soon as he possibly can. But we do have a special co-host guest for the evening, and that is Mr. Alun Rossiter. I got his name wrong there. How are you, Al?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you? Yeah, good.
It's been a stressful day. I started it. We were sort of unsure of how we were going to do this format and what was going to happen and how the Poland meetings were going to fare and all the rest of it. And then Charlesy messaged me a little while ago and was like, I'm not going to get home in time. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, I've been asked to go to Leicester. So he's had to go to Leicester for work and he's on his way home.
And Edgeways tonight then?
We might be able to get a word in edgeways, yeah. But yeah, he has been working his backside off the last few days. You know, I was chatting to him. Thursday, he worked like a double shift. Friday, he came and did the Lee Adams show in the morning, then went back to work on Friday. Then yesterday, he came to Plymouth to meet me, and we did a practice run for doing live streaming at a Speedway venue, which went really well. He went straight back to Wales, and then today he's had to drive to Leicester, work in Leicester, and now he's on his way home. So he might get here by the end of the show, but yeah, who knows? So if you have any comments at all and you want anything answered by the end of the show, put it in the comments and we will do our best to answer any questions. We're going to try and go back over some of the meetings and see, you know, what happened and talk about things. So the more comments, the better. And yeah. So, Al, what did you think of the meeting that you've just seen?
I'm in the midst at the end now. We're in heat. We're in heat 14 of Lezno versus gone brain dead now. Gorzhov. I'm just watching it now, and Gorzhov are 35-43 at the moment, and they're on a 5-1. So. Yeah, they're going to get back to a couple of points, and obviously Lezno, I think. But watching the Ribnik one was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah,
they dropped Batch, which again people probably say I'm being a bit biased, but Batch has ridden for Ribnik for many years now, and they put Majinski in, who rode for Czestochowa last year. So it's a bit of a strange one. And then he went out and scored 2 ducks.
So a technical difficulty there for sure. They you think they'd go with their hands.
The argument was apparently it got broken down to that he didn't practice enough. Oh. Unfortunately, in Poland, that's their thing. You must practice. We always joke when we're in the pits. You know, you've been to Poland, yeah, must practice. It won't make you a world champion. Keep practicing and just wearing your engines out.
Yeah.
But that's their mentality, unfortunately.
Yeah. So maybe they'll learn from that. Maybe they won't.
Yeah, they won't change. Lemo obviously did a stint there last year, and I spoke to him about it, and he said exactly. He said it'll be very difficult to change their mentality towards how they go about things over there, and they're just hell bent. You must practice, and you just go out there, and it's not cheap to service an engine. You just going out there screaming, winning races, or coming second, and against juniors and riders and that. And, you know, I just don't get it sometimes. Yeah. I've been doing it a long time, so it's very, very difficult to understand that.
Yeah, and also the Polish league is very different to the English league as well, isn't it? It's like, you know, with how they have the team formats and things like that. We was supposed to have Lemo coming on as well, but he's texting right this second. Lemo's texting now. He's going to come on and just sort of go through the logistics of how different the he's just watching the last race, he said. How different the Polish league is.
I keep look. If you keep seeing me look like that, I'm just looking at 15, 40, 44. And Lejno got the big hitters in at the moment. Probably Pavlicki, I would say, and Emil.
Yeah.
Kasper Zak. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on him at the moment.
Okay.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Here we go. We have got Lemo here as well. So I'll just bring Lemo in. How are you, Mark?
G'day, guys. How are we?
Good. Have we still got the last race on? I think we came in a little bit early, haven't we?
They're at the tapes. Emil's off tape
Peaked
4.
too soon.
Okay.
Kasper Zak's off the inside.
Let's watch it here then.
Oh, there you go.
You're a miracle if Gorjov can pull this one off. And the old Bulls have been on form.
It shows about having strong reserves, doesn't it?
Critical. Got to have the right reserves.
You found out last year, didn't you?
Yeah, the Ekstraliga's reserve situation can be very decisive. But the Bulls over the recent years have obviously had very good reserves and produced the young riders well. Piotr Baron's got a very good training method down there.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Big 5-1 here. Well, there's been some strange starts. I've seen two starts. One from Rybnik, one from the Lejno match earlier. Nobody moved.
Oh, Pavlicki will be excluded on this one.
You reckon?
Yeah, he's already had a warning. He's going to go. Oh. Good call by that ref in that particular race.
Oh. There you go, won't he?
That's good news, race fans.
There we go. So we're going to have to wait a second now while they restart that race. So, Mark, what do you feel to the Polish meetings? How they've been for you?
Well, I think obviously it's great to see Speedway on our screens again. We've obviously eagerly been waiting in this unprecedented period of the COVID-19. So I think like a lot of people, we're just eager to go. But Poland, obviously, their situation compared to the UK and a lot of other countries has been slightly different. And being not such a niche sport in many countries, Speedway is big time in Poland. So they've had the backing of the Minister of Sport, and the government's been right on to try and get sport back up and running, along with football. So a lot of involvement's gone behind the scenes, and they've done a great job to get it back up.
Yeah. No, it's it's good. It's good that we got some racing. It's a shame there's no fans there. It sort of feels, I don't know, like a little bit hollow. There's nothing there, like no crowd to bounce off. Is there?
The atmosphere seems different. I mean, the riders don't seem to be being affected so much. They've just they're in the little zone in their social bubbles, and doing their jobs perfectly well as pros that they should do. But interesting, obviously, the face mask. Some of the boys are, not really adhering to the actual regulations, but
protecting their chins.
Exactly. I think I saw Jan Klotz pull his mask down and move closer to hear someone. Sort of guess that doesn't quite work.
Yeah. Oh, it's known that if you remove the face mask, your hearing gets better.
Is that right? Yanis has proved that. So you got to laugh.
Here we go.
Obviously, it's new territory for a lot of us, so can all be forgiven.
Yeah. So here's a rerun of Heat 15. So it seems we've got no audio in English. Do you guys want to do commentating? Who's going to get the most excited in this race?
Let's go. I'd love to see a 5-1 here from Gorjov, but it's going to be a big ask against Pavlicki and Savinov.
I think he's jumped that one.
I think KK's just blown it for Gorjov.
Has he been warned before?
Yep, they both are now. So
Well, in fairness, Pavlicki then should have gone, really, if they're going to adhere the rules, wouldn't they?
Don't know. I mean, obviously the referee's got a much better bird's eye view than us, but until we see the replay. But it was interesting in Heat 14. You know, I thought from looking from afar that it was Pavlicki that moved, made the jump.
And he touched
that was
it.
Casper attack, wasn't it? Yeah. So, how comes earlier Smarslik touched the tapes, got caught in his helmet. He went back in the pits and the reserve came out and replaced him. But I didn't see that Smarslik got a warning.
No, he was excluded because he actually touched the tapes. So, yeah.
So even though he got excluded, he doesn't get a warning?
You carry a warning for the rest of the night, yes.
KK's out.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and then obviously that when they can bring in a reserve in here as well. Or I'm not sure if they can. No, I think they have to bring a reserve in. Or yeah, the Polish rules are slightly different to the English ones. I see this year that with the draw, they changed it somewhat for Heat 1. You know, I noticed it's like the Heat leader 1 and 3 or 9 and 11 go out in Heat 1, where it was normal the traditional 1s and 2s go out in Heat 1. So yeah, they've obviously mixed it up a little bit for whatever reason.
And the structure of the team as well is different. So they have like a squad system for the Polish league.
Yeah, the squad system is obviously it's been narrowed down from previous years, but they actually run a regular number 8. You may see like I think Jamin Lindsay's here running at number 8, but not had a ride. And we saw in the earlier match with Robert Lambert on fire riding from number 8. This can be an under 23 rider in the team, so they can bring this rider in pretty much and give him 6 rides for the meeting plus a nominated heat. So you can be quite busy.
Somebody like Robert Lambert is integral to a good team then, because like Robert Lambert came in all over the place. You know, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I tell you, it can somewhat unbalance the team too. You know, you can have like your trump card in your number 8, but when you see this again. So he's definitely gone. But it can unsettle a team. You know, like if you've got a couple of riders that that say like Robert Lambert's on fire, for instance. Your place in the team, if you're in the main body, you don't have you have a bad start from a poor gate or a gate grid that's not very very good, and you get off to a bad start, you can be dropped straight away. So it brings a bit of animosity into the team. Unfortunately, that's the downside of it. But if so you've got a good number 8, you can benefit from it when someone's having an off night or if there's been an accident.
But also, if everybody's going all right and you've got a guy in reserve. And he's not going to get a ride, is he?
Yeah. The classic example here tonight. Jamin Lindsay. Not saying that Jamin was probably going to replace any guy in the Lejno Bulls team because they're all pretty good, and they're obviously carried on from their league-winning form from last year. So it makes it very difficult for someone to get a ride in a strong team. But like in Robert, unfortunately, like Robert last year, he was at Lublin and in the same position, and I think he found it very frustrating being at number 8. Not knowing when he's got program rides, and you can't get into your mindset and when you're going to go and have a game plan, because you just got to be ready at the last minute to get thrown in, and then you can be back-to-back rides, and it's a tough gig. But
especially if you're like not this season because they're already in Poland, but they could have come all the way from England to go and have a ride in Poland and get one ride, or it's pretty disheartening.
Many boys have done that. Many times. That's fallen for you.
So how many riders are in the squad? Is it just the 8?
We'll watch this one.
We'll watch this race.
Look at that.
Lejno just dominated this.
Thompson's gone really well tonight, hasn't he?
Who's that, Alan?
Anders Thompson's had a really good night.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's been flying. If you look at his form last year, he was on great form. Pretty unlucky not to probably qualify for the Grand Prix from the challenge. Had busted his wrist halfway during the year, I think, with in the SEC. And funnily enough, that 3-time world champion Jason Crump on his comeback was in talks with Gorjov to be the man that was going to probably take this position, but they eventually went with Anders.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see Anders doing well. He came over a few years ago to Glasgow Tigers and obviously sat out of British Speedway for a little while, but he's come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah, hasn't he? He's really come on. He'd be pushing for the Danish team at this rate, wouldn't he?
Yeah, pretty much. So easy for the Bulls.
Cut the Bulls, big Bulls fan.
There we go.
Winning connection there, but well done.
41-49.
Yeah, pretty dominant.
Yeah.
I think Gorjov were always up against it with the loss of Niels Christian Stevenson through injury. He was obviously the crash this week, and I don't know the extent of his damage. I don't think there's anything broken or that, but it must have been severe enough for him to be bruised and sit out this match.
I heard that he ended up in the fence, so it's his shoulder that he's hurt, isn't it?
I'm none the wiser. So
yeah, I think it's his shoulder that he's done. Apparently, I don't know how much I'm supposed to say, but apparently he was practicing with one of his teammates and they run inside of him. And
That's the problem. It's just cutthroat. Everybody wants to beat the best rider so they can get shot into the team, and it's so cutthroat over there. That's the way it is. And as Bash has probably found out as well, because he didn't practice enough allegedly, and he didn't get picked. So you go out with these guys and they end up trying to. It's like a world final race for some of them guys. Because if they beat them, they get an opportunity of getting in the team.
Yeah, so can you elaborate a little bit more on that, Roscoe? Like, I was obviously surprised to not see Troy in the lineup today.
Oh, yeah. You wasn't here, Mark.
They came out with the news that they put Majinski in because Batch hadn't practiced enough. But the funny thing is, ridden for Ribnik for how long? Majinski's just come across from Chesahover, and okay, probably people say I'm being biased because he's one of my riders, but it kind of don't make a lot of sense, and that's where the Polish mentality goes out the window, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's cutthroat. They've got their way they do things, and you got to behave and follow the astute guidance and how it is, and you must practice. And in this case, clearly, Batch must practice. So
everybody says when we get back to an English meeting, how'd you get on in Poland? Oh, must practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can understand it. They've obviously been off a bike for quite a while now. In some cases, some of these riders will probably had the longest period off a bike in their careers. Obviously excluding injury. It's
I think
only been over.
Some of the lads' hands, like a bit like Dan Bewley, people like that. Troy's had another year injury free, a bit longer. Don't feel a bit better, don't they? And I think probably done some of the riders the world of good, a bit like the footballers, really, in some sort of some direct.
Yeah, I think so. You've got to sort of make the best out of the situation, I suppose. Some riders practice better than others.
Exactly.
I know Max Frick quite well. He's not the best practicer. You watch him practice and you think maybe not. But once the green light comes on, away he goes. So they're all different, but obviously they're pretty focused on the training aspects in Poland, and they try and get the boys down there to do tape starts on a regular basis, and it's you get the experienced campaigner that knows the score and knows how to perform, but yet they still ask them to come and do flick starts and against the juniors, and it's like the last place you want to be, when you're trying to prepare yourself and have these young kids that are trying to prove themselves against the top stars, and as you say, like possibly like in the Neil situation, you get taken out by a junior, which is not very good training or practice. So
that wasn't the situation.
Okay. No, I'm just
it wasn't a junior. is what I heard. But
Okay.
I heard it was like Al said, the practice sessions in Poland apparently, there's no letting up. They're going full gas, and there was an incident. So I sort of got some questions together before about so you've got the 8 riders that are in the program. How many are in the squad? Is it just those 8 riders, or is there 10?
I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure on the numbers. I think it might. I don't know this year. I'm not. I still not refresh myself with the regulations. It could be 10.
Right.
But obviously they have transfer windows. So if they've signed the 8 riders that they can put on a track on a given night, it may just be 8. And then when the transfer window opens up, that they can actually chop and change. I'm not too sure, to be perfectly honest, without going and reading some. Catching up on some Polish regulations.
So,
but just going back onto the squad though, so they've got it. It breaks down a little bit, so you can have
in the next question.
Yeah, in the main body of the team, excluding your reserves, you've got to have a minimum of 2 Polish riders. So, and when we say Polish riders, they've got to have Polish passports. So on Polish license, not necessarily on Polish licenses, but Polish passports. In the main body.
Gleb, the Russian guy, he's now got a Polish passport. Is that right? And he's now riding.
Correct.
Russian passport. Yeah.
Kleb chugging off
license. It said, yeah.
And the bonus, like Roslav's team, they got a real trump card there in Kleb. He's gone over. He's got a Polish passport. Obviously, it's not just for racing Speedway. I'm sure it has a lot to do with it. But it makes it much more easy for him to be in Poland, and probably tax and all those sort of benefits that may come with it or not with it. But in Roslav's case, there was a big cloud of what was going to happen with Max Strabic. It was with obviously that doping case. They're pretty confident that he was going to get off, and it looks like he has got off. I haven't really sort of followed up too much. But so there was some uncertainty whether they were going to have some quality under 21 reserves, because they have to have Polish nationals or passport holders at the reserve, and they have to be under 21. And we talk about Poland, we think it's so great, and it's boom time Speedway, but they are actually their department down in the reserves. They are struggling for numbers and quality. So you have seen over the recent years and in previous seasons, the teams that actually win have the best juniors. So the price tag for the juniors is, they're like, hey, I like fast cars, so they have to in their annex contracts, supply them with some pretty decent contracts. So the key is there, if they can have 2 good under 21 riders, it makes a big difference, because they have the Heat 2, which is a reserves race, and then they only have to take a minimum of 2 rides and three program rides. So it's pretty critical that those clubs get the right reserves.
Yeah, they've done, like say Mark. So you look at the race, Ribnik Heat 2 before it got stopped. The guy that was in front was nearly coming up to lap, and he had to lay the bike down for the guy that had crashed on the track.
Yeah.
And the pair of them were like that far behind in Heat 2, and you think, well, you can know already that they're on a hiding for nothing already, Ribnik, aren't they? Without no juniors.
Yeah, I mean, I was involved at Torren last year, and that was the same scenario. They had some reasonable juniors, but compared to the other juniors in the league, you're going out there and you're being sort of 1-5 in Heat 2, and you're behind the 8 ball, and you just got nothing to come back or throw at. So it puts the pressure on the main body, and if there's a weak link in the main body, the team actually struggle. And I think it's not very fair to sort of say that was the case with Ribnik today, because obviously the unfortunate circumstances with the crashes. But they're number 15 or number 7, so I'd never even heard of before today. In fairness, and clearly, he only participated in that one race, and he wasn't. I don't know what happened there. Was he? The referee taking him out of the meeting? I'm not too sure, but No, that was Matthias Tujas, or I'm not very good in the Polish names, but he's the one that got carted off with that nasty crash.
So, do Poland have to, or the Polish team, so they have to have the same regulations as we do, where we have an average to build your team at the beginning of the season? Because it seems like Częstochowa have like a really strong team this year compared to, say like Rybnik, or, do they have the same system, or is it literally whoever's got the most money can have the best team?
The latter. Basically, there's no points limit they can build the team to. You go to Częstochowa, you got Jason Doyle, Leon Madsen, Freddie Lindgren. It's just a phenomenal sort of top three. So it's to try and
top Grand Prix.
So there's no restrictions on that thing. It's just they have a salary cap that's in place, as probably it's been highlighted in recent times, because this COVID-19 period where the boys are going back to race, they were obviously offered reduced contracts for this period of time, because obviously with the media contracts and having no spectators, something had to give. So there was a compromise with the riders and their contracts. But there've been some cuts, but I can probably assure you their cuts, probably compared to the regular, 9 to 5, it's nothing. But not saying nothing. So it's a great deal, to be quite honest. But it's they're out to have the best speedway in the world, and they're prepared to pay for it.
But they've got the TV to back it, whereas other countries haven't, have they?
Yeah, it seems that they've got a very good media contract in place. It's their structure over there is slightly ran differently to say the UK and probably Sweden and Denmark. They have a independent that runs the Ekstraliga under the PZM, which is the governing body of motorsport in Poland. But Ekstraliga own the contract, own the rights for the top flight speedway in Poland. And they go out there and they sell it and market it, and they tell the teams what they're going to do. It's a proper franchise, system that it seems to work, because it's in the years it's been running. We've seen how it's grown. We don't have to go too far back. And British Speedway was the number one country for all the Speedway league racing. But over the last 20 years, it's gradually gone back.
Apparently, I've been told I'm too echoey.
Yeah, that's fine. While you're doing that, I think what we can do is we can play the which I think is probably the best race of the it's probably the best race of the season so far. So let's play this one. This is Heat 7 today with Bartosz Zmarzlik. Check this out. Oh, is it not playing?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I've even got my team behind me telling me I'm too echoey.
Your production team, for some reason.
My wife just texted me saying too echoey. Put the headphones on.
Right. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Yeah, Bartosz Zmarzlik didn't get off to the best league campaign that we probably hoped for.
No, touching the date, moving
current world champion. And just a bit of nerves, I think, crept into the game there, but he seems settled down, and he put some classic moves on. To think it's the first meeting of the season, a little bit ring rusty, and he was jumping all over the bike like he normally does. It's quite impressive to see. But
here we go.
So I think this is
back and pulling those moves. You're thinking, "Oh, the boy still means it."
Yeah, he means it.
So this is Heat 7. Oh, this is the
on the outside in yellows.
Yeah. Sorry, we're having a connection problem then for a second. So let me just go back.
Yeah, it's pure.
Right, that's Heat 6.
Oh, here we go.
See, these are the technical difficulties when you're trying to do stuff on the fly. So this video wasn't available until after the meeting. So here we go, Heat 7.
You got Pavlicki there.
Yeah. And we also have some good news. So those people that are asking where Charlesy is, he is backstage right now, and we'll bring him out just after this.
No. Keep him there. Keep him there.
This race. Well, I'm enjoying the quiet, if I'm honest. I'm enjoying the quiet. The videos froze again in the same place.
It did, didn't it? Oh, well.
Okay, maybe we're not going to play that. Let's just bring Charlesy in. Here he is.
Here he is, superstar.
Anyway, it was an incredible
How are
move.
you, mate?
Incredible move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I miss? No, I was watching in the van on the way down. Cheers, Roscoe and Lemo, for doing this for us, mate. It was a last minute thing today. I'm absolutely shattered.
We'll just talk about amongst ourselves for the time.
Yeah,
how's your day been, Roscoe?
Yeah.
My day's been pretty good. I've been doing what Charles's been doing. I've been 13, 14 hours a day in the truck. It's been absolutely manic. And today I've kind of just sat out in the garden watching my daughter ride a bike for the first time without no stabilizers, with a couple of cans, and just chilled out. And I went, I better go and get myself spruced up and put the makeup on ready for the show tonight. I've been called in to cover for the legendary Shane Charles.
Oh gosh, legendary, yeah. I've got home to a computer that needs a restart as well. So it's all
the dog's back. We never had this problem before, did we?
Listen, I'll nip off and let you guys carry on, shall I? Oh God. So anyway, I was hopping out of the van. Did Gorgio get the draw after? I've missed everything. It was, they needed 2.51s in the last 2 heats. I was flicking while trying to watch while I was driving. Don't do that, kids.
5-1. It's a Gorjov in 14, and then Lesno came out with the big ones in 15 and got a 5-1. Cass was at touch at 8.
He choked.
Jeez, big result, guys. I would have had 4 home wins down, considering the amount of practice that the guys have been doing on their own tracks, and the time that the other boys have been away. So the Ribnik one, look, on paper, I seen that result. I didn't see the racing, but
didn't miss nothing.
Oh, okay, cool. Just seeing they sort of got flogged at home. So, like, are they upsets, Roscoe and Lemo, mate, or are they on paper stone cold results? You think what's happened today?
I think the Lesno result.
I thought that was going to happen anyway. I thought Lesno were going to win, especially without Niels Christian Everson in there. I think they're strong. They got some good reserves. They're strong, and they put a lot of faith in Brady because they let Jarek Hampel go, didn't they? So, it's good for Brady, good for Lemo with his Australian hat on. But they let someone experienced as Hampel go like that. That's a big plus for Brady for sure.
But I didn't predict the rain off on Friday night at Chester Hover though. That was
I saw a couple of Doyley's posts were brilliant. He said, "Oh well, it must be Speedway." He sat in the van with his feet up and looking out the window, and it's absolutely chucking it down. The weather. Mind you, saying that, I spoke to Jason a few times, and he said to me, "The weather's not around." He said, "The weather's not been that good over there. We've had hotter weather. Normally, Poland is the place where it gets really hot. This last month, England's outshone everybody with the weather." He said, "It's cold."
I spoke with Joe Parsons. Well, yesterday and today, they've both been out.
Manchester.
They've been out on the boat this weekend. The water was 22 degrees with Ashtek and Jonski. So they're not having it hard in Poland at the moment. Don't feel sorry for them.
It's only just started to happen because the last week and 2 weeks, because like Doyley was moaning, saying Emily's sunbathing at home, and he's out there like in 15 degrees in Poland, and we've had 22, 24.
So what do you make of the opening sort of 3 rounds, or obviously 3 meetings, boys? In terms of a little bit disappointed, to be honest. Like, I know I was watching the Roslav meeting. I think the hype with the Polish guys being on, or the Polish riders people who ride in Poland being on such a big earn and the quality of racing. Is it just the sense that it's daytime racing, Lemo and Roscoe, with the tracks being so sort of dusty and
slick.
It just
Slick.
it just looks so different to when a Grand Prix's there at night under lights with moisture in the track. And I think I was expecting probably look, I'll say it a little bit more from especially the Roslov meeting. I know some guys are rusty, but given the hype around it, you could noticeably a few mistakes as well. I think Ty got away with going wide in the first one, and when he tried it in one of them, he got blocked off and hurt his foot by the looks of things. But to me, I'd much prefer to watch some British Speedway and see a little bit of inconsistency. I think they're a little bit too in control. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think
go on, Mark.
Yeah, you make some pretty fair points there, Charlesy, but also you got to probably understand it's their first meetings, their first times out, and they're racing again. It's they're not really got that proper race fitness. They're not in that zone just yet, so that's gonna come. So you're probably going to see a lot more closer racing and harder fought racing because they're all sort of. You've got to be a little bit conservative at times just to make sure you get through the first one. There's no good writing yourself off in the first meeting. And there will be some reservations. I think not that we saw any from Smarzlik in those later races, but I think too, it's just they're not quite there yet. Yeah, and I think with obviously the hot weather out there in Poland they've been had in the daytime, like when I say daytime, those 4:30 meetings, when the sun's still up, very difficult for the track curators to put down a nice moisture strip for them. So that creates problems too, and obviously doesn't give the best racing surface for the boys to do their business. So I think probably we're all sort of getting our heads around the face masks and the no crowds and the lack of atmosphere, and just even like the fans with the banners and all that sort of stuff. It just takes a little bit of adapting, and I guess even us watching, our super fans, we need to do a little bit of adapting too.
Most people I've spoken to as well, they said they found it really hard just to watch it. It just looks like a practice match, and they find it hard because they are so partisan in Poland, don't they? The atmosphere is amazing, and seeing the stadiums full up, it does make a difference, and it takes it away from it. So it is going to be a bit weird, but like Mark said earlier on in the show, them guys, they're not going to worry about that. At the end of the day, when you get to that sign, being ex-riders, you don't worry about the crowd. You just got the head down on that tapes, and with respect, unless it's something like a championship on it or a world title on it, you're just going out to win the race, and anything else can just go over your head, and you just get on with it. But like you said, Mark said, the right thing to do, it was a bit processional today. The weather's got warm over there a little bit, but in time, people don't need to be nailing people at the moment and just getting through the first couple of meetings. I'm sure it'll get better, but they are kind of a little bit over there, a little bit concrete city, a little bit at times.
Well, if I throw something out there, I don't expect you boys to 100% know the answer, but why aren't they running at night time? If it's going to be an issue in the daytime, look, in saying that, all their tracks there, let's get it off the table. They've all got lights. They all can run at night. I just don't understand why, for the sake of racing, that they're not.
It could be just do the TV. The TV not being fun. It's the same in England. You get dictated to to a certain extent where what we're going to do and stuff like that. And it's probably no different in Poland. But like you say, in an ideal world, it would have been probably better under the lights, a bit cooler, because they do tend to have great weather in Poland. Because I know Ashley's always down the river on his jet ski and stuff like that. So, it's funny that their weather's only just coming good now. And the Speedway's just starting.
Mark, just quickly as well, is it a good thing that the fans weren't there at Ribnik and at Gorzhov today?
Well, there probably definitely won't be a Ribnick next week. But trust me, the boys will be able to get out of the stadium much easier after a match like that. They won't be waiting around for an hour or so for the fans to cool off. That'll be a certain. But it's challenging, I think. And
you say that. I actually seen on one of the Speedway pages or groups earlier. I seen that all the Ribnick fans were actually outside the gate and they're all chanting outside the gate, and you could hear them from inside. Yeah,
is that right? Yeah, I could imagine. I think they probably have to look. I would imagine the security. I think there'd be security outside the stadium. Knowing how passionate the Polish fans are, they may not have big access to have race in front of an audience, but I can pretty much guarantee they'll be outside somewhere. Gathering. Certainly not social distancing in sort of mass gatherings. So, obviously next week they've changed it in Poland. They're allowed to have 25% of the stadiums with personnel, so that's going to be great to see. So you go to somewhere like Leszno, sort of 16 to 18,000, so they can probably get 4,000 people in to their stadium. So that'll be good to see for starters. So, but that it can be a very volatile and very intense place to be when things aren't going so well in Poland.
So those cheap tickets that you get to go to watch the Speedway in Poland aren't going to be cheap anymore, are they? If there's only 4,000 people and 16,000 want to come in, they're going to be getting a lot of money on eBay.
I think there's a standard price set in there, Matt. I'm not 100% sure.
Not outside the gate though, Al.
Oh, right,
where Jerry hangs out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I saw in some football in Spain. I think there's some fans on the rooftops, looking in on the game. So, you probably could say it was going to be not live and you could host it whenever you wanted to. But I guess they've been dictated to their media contracts, which is it's a pretty lucrative deal over there, and they've got to fit their TV allocation slots. So with a lot going on, I guess they've got to cater for the for that side of things. So anyway, it's up and running, and that's how it is, and we don't have to go to bed late watching late Speedway.
No, you have to go to bed late watching us.
Yeah. We predicted a tighter score line. So let's have a look at Wrocław v Lublin. Jerry and I, or the chat show, we predicted got a little bit wrong. But where was the disappointment from the Lublin side? Matty Zager stood out to me as someone that wasn't sharp, I guess, at that meeting, and Wrocław had the most consistency across the team, something that Lublin can turn around if Matty especially fires as well.
Yeah, obviously Matty's an integral part to that team. Obviously, he's moved from Czestochowa this year to Lublin, which obviously Czestochowa changed their team around this year. He's an excellent rider, so he's going to need the backup, So whatever happens, he can't do it all on his own, can he? And if he's not firing, then it just puts all the as Mark said earlier, has a knock-on effect, puts more pressure on the other guys, and even more so on the reserves if they're not firing, and if you haven't got a decent reserve at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm just looking.
But funny you touch on Matty there. Matty's just such an enigma of a sportsman. Some days he is just out of this world, brilliant. He can come from the back, trap, just look effortless on a motorcycle, and then other days you're just wondering where's that real Matty Zager. And I think we did see that. But I think we have to recognise, it's the hardest league in the world. No one gives anything away, but they hit a very strong, balanced team in Wrocław with Drabic, the 4 straight wins, running at the sort of number 2 place, and then Kleb Kloganov, picking up big points as well. So it made it very difficult for the Lubliners.
And the other thing as well is it's like the Grand Prix. They were saying that no one gives an inch. Going back to that race with Bartos earlier, I was sat watching it with my mum, and she was like, "Oh, there's going to be a scrap here between him and Pavlicki after the race." And they just went out, shook hands straight away afterwards, and there was no love lost there at all. Everyone, they were fine. It's racing, but
they're Polish, shouldn't they? It might have been a different if it was a Dane or somebody else. It might have been a few fingers waving.
I'm going to try and get that video going. Let's see if we can get that going now, because it might have been just a connection issue. Oh, here we go. Oh,
Go
what's
on,
it
Jerry.
doing? Why is it?
Go on, Jerry.
Go, Jerry. You're the
So
minute
close.
guru.
Oh, we've
It's
had a
not me,
big
it's
couple of
YouTube.
days.
Well, you know,
See, there's-
going back to what you said about Matty Zagar, you watched the meeting in Ribnik. You had 1 minute, you had a guy win a race by a proverbial mile, then he came last, and that's what happens in Poland. Guys can win a race, then the next race they're miles behind. It's not as if they've changed their setup or done anything different. Just the standard and the quality of the riders in the race. But if they make a bad start, it is very difficult with the tracks being a little tad slick as well.
I'm just watching it in the background as well, guys, and obviously having your reserves go out. Just seen a Heat 2 crash. Just watching that. So looks like the both reserves are having a tough time. That's not going to help for the rest of the meeting either, is it? So it looks like they might run with 3 riders in some of
That's
them.
what I thought.
Yeah.
Poland were on top. I thought Poland were on top of that they had a reserve in reserve. But I know Robert Lambert was the number 8. I thought they had an extra one to stop that, having 3 riders in a race. Because at the end of the day, we all want to see 4 riders in a race, and that's what we try and do over here. And sometimes it just doesn't happen, does it?
Your number 8 can, if he's under 21. If he's under 21, in those instances, he can replace the Polish reserves. But in most cases, they're like a under 23 rider. So they're just sort of out of that under 21 bracket. So in the case with Rabnik, they will sort of had to wear it, copper on the chin, and run some races with 3 riders only. Yeah, it's not a good look. But it's the same across every league in the country or in the world. If one of your reserves goes down, or 2 reserves go down, well, then you're definitely going to have a race that's only going to have 3 riders in it. That's for sure.
We've seen a similar thing in Russia at the World Cup, didn't we? Oh, the Speedway of Nations, obviously. Yeah, sorry, Roscoe.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot about Russia.
Did you? Sorry, mate. But that
what happened? What happened?
Yeah, run us through.
No, you were there.
We're gearing up for the semi-final, Roscoe.
That's the sport as well, though, isn't it? You obviously go through meetings, no injuries, and then obviously get hit with an unlucky time with a couple of reserves going out, like we just seen here on this, or I'm seeing as I just got home from work.
Yeah, it's a bit like Russia, really. It's not a country you can just fly somebody over there. If you haven't got a visa, you can't just get there in 8 hours. If it was in Poland, somebody could have just jumped in the van or got on a plane and got there for the next day. And it was, it's one of them things. These are testing times, and hopefully, if they go back to Russia, that the authorities can learn from it and accept that you need extras, and they might not get a ride, but at least you've got something there as a backup.
Yeah.
The rain-off meeting, has it been rescheduled? I'm hearing
tomorrow.
Is that right? Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
tomorrow.
hearing right. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you see that one going? If it goes ahead, weather permitting, tomorrow, guys? What's your thoughts on that one tomorrow?
Who's it against? I know Chesterhover.
Chesterhover.
Gruden. I think Chesterhover are going to win that.
Yeah. I think they're pretty solid. I mean, they've got a young junior. Is it Robert? I can't. Mizukiak? I can't think.
Just say your name.
She's really good at that.
Yeah. Chase Yakshamar, sure. It's a Tom show. But
right.
Yeah.
Which one?
He's father rose to Ipswich.
That's graphics, Jerry.
Robert Miskalwick. Is it Miskalwick?
No, not Miskowiak. He's a bit
anyway.
old,
He's a very good junior. Miskowiak. No, he's his son.
Oh, his son is
nephew. I think it might be.
It's Miskowiak.
Yeah, so he goes really good. No. Yeah, nephew, I think it is. Yeah, he goes really good for Chesterhover. So they've got a bit of a trump card down there. And that's the one. That's
Jacob,
the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he goes pretty good. So I think Chesterhover got a really good team this year. So Rooney Halter, the old dog Rooney's still going. He must be
80,
40. Yeah, something like that.
I think he's 47. They said the other day.
That's not old.
Yeah,
that's not old.
Yeah, he's a couple of years younger than me. And it was your birthday the other day, wasn't it, Charlie? So, but
all the fours.
So Chesterhover got a really good team. I think when you look at sort of the standouts for me are like Chesterhover, Roslav, and Lejno. So they're the ones that got the balance about right with their reserves. So
I always find Roslav, their balance, it just seems not quite always that they've got good riders, but they don't seem to all do it at the same time. I don't know why. Every time I look at Roslav, they look really good, and you think, but then you just get somebody doesn't hit. Obviously they've taken out Milik this year, who's been there for quite a while, hasn't he?
True. That's probably quite harsh on Roslav, because they come up against the mighty bulls in Lejno the last couple of years who have just been dominant.
I'm not knocking them.
And they've been runners up. So it's just like they've done all the hard work, got to the playoff, and then just got hosed by Lejno. That just had the best juniors, like sort of 1 and 2 in the world, under 21s. So I mean, I know Roslav have Drabic, obviously, but they just didn't have someone to back him up when he was at the reserve. But now, they have Kleb. He's got a adequate replacement that can put in some big points, and they've been very clever down there. But yeah, I think there's improvement. Obviously, you like to think Max Frick could probably step up his game in Poland to sort of be a strong heat leader out there. And we've got Magic Janowski, which you guys had on the show the other day. He's just tremendous out there and a great leader. And obviously, 3-time world champion Ty Wolfenden. The way how fast he was on Fridays.
I'd probably say Magic's got a bit more of a point to prove this year with being dropped from the Polish side as well. So I think with the added pressure of not riding for his country, I think it could benefit him this year, I think.
Yeah, quite possibly. I guess I'm pretty. Yeah, I mean, they've got a new team manager. There's second year as well, Darius Sledge. So there's a few things in Roslav's favour, but the Chesterhover, they got she's like Marek. She's like he's the man when it comes to team managing.
The goat.
He's just he is the goat. So he just gets a rhythm out of his boys, and he's got a pretty good squad there. So but Pete Barron, he's been to Lejno the last 2 years as a team manager, since 2017, and then won 2 titles under his management. So it's interesting. We talked about Remnick. I think they got some challenges, obviously. But
they got rid of him at Roslav as well, didn't they?
Quite possibly.
Peter Barron. I was at Roslav with Nick when Nick went there, and the following year.
Yeah.
And then he went from there, and then brought in 2 titles with the Bulls.
Let's have a look at Max Frick and Dan Bewley, essentially, Mark, as well. Max, a solid sort of a meeting. It's a tough number to ride at. Dan Bewley having a little bit more tougher time. Got a couple of points. How does that in Poland now sit with the hierarchy? Do they reset, go back out, practice, then try get back into the team for next week? Do they have serious discussions with him? What's expected at his number that he rides at? Do you have much of that information to hand or experience to sort of understand what position he's going to be in after scoring just a couple?
I think the mood will change, definitely. I think everyone would have been upbeat and bubbly because, you come up to the first meetings and they expect and demand results. You talk about Dan Bewley. Probably going into the Ekstraliga, in my opinion, was probably not the right move for Dan. Where he had some options and he felt that was the best one for him. And hey, it could pan out. But I just hope they're patient with Dan because he's not the best starter. And we've seen some fantastic races. I think he was in the first league's top 3 races of the season last year, and coming from the back, and he can do that. But when you step up to the Ekstraliga, coming from the back is pretty hard at the best of times and probably near impossible most. But it's going to be difficult, and he won't get that opportunity unless he makes starts. So he's got to really hone his starting game, and which he'll come on for. But it's a tough place to be. And like you said, they're very short lived, and they have transfer windows. And if you're not performing, you can be out the door as quick as it's been opened.
Yeah, and Roscoe as well. Do they, in your experience, obviously you've gone there with Nick, do they get second bites at the cherry in Poland, or is if you get dropped, all the other teams see you as someone else's rubbish? Or?
No. I think you have to go back, and it's this, like we said earlier, must practice, and then you have to go and ride out as if it's a extra league meeting in practice, and we all know how wrong that could go, and as we've seen earlier. But it's like Mark said, it's cutthroat, and the guys, they go out, they give them they do get a little bit of a run. And as I say, we've got to bear in mind this is the first meetings this year, and there's a few rusty boys about at the moment, and I'm sure they'll give them a little bit of time. But if they're not hitting the points, and like Mark said, Dan's starting, he's got to make some starts, because in that league, as I said earlier, you saw some guys win a race, and the next minute they're stone last. So, and that's the best riders. I think Vasulik was in one. He was second, the comfortable second, and then he was stone last in another race.
Yeah.
So it is so difficult and cutthroat over there, and if you're not cutting it, they will chop and change it.
So Ross
Drabic went through the card and didn't drop a point, and then in Heat 15 came last.
Yeah. So Ross Lovin went to plan then. That went to plan, and then we look at the Ribnick questions going to be asked at Ribnick as a home defeat for their first one. Where can they improve across the team, if anywhere, boys?
I think the obvious one is dropping Troy Batchelor, who's ridden there for the last 4 or 5 years. To bring in, I know they brought in a Polish rider, which is understandable. But Troy's been riding there for quite a few years now, and Adrian's come across from Chesterhover, and it's a bit of a strange move. And like Mark said, the old war, Troy's a bit of a seasoned campaigner now over there. He's been there doing it consistently, getting double figures. And, they brought Adrian in, and it backfired on him today. So I'm sure that the coach and the hierarchy will be looking at that for next week, but then potentially they could be away. I don't know the fixtures.
So it's a fab loop.
Yeah, it's pretty tough on Ribnick. Obviously they got promoted last year into the from the first division to the Ekstraliga, and Torren the other way. So when you look at a lot of the riders are pretty established at most clubs. There's a few big dogs got moved around from club to club, but majority of them stayed put. So Ribnick comes up to the top flight. They've got to strengthen up. But where they weren't, there wasn't the class of riders available. This is the problem they have. And obviously with their rule, the top 5 have to be 2 Polish riders. And they have, in that squad, they have Medinsky, Szczepaniak, and Kasper Arena. Now, Kasper's a great little rider. And if everyone watched the meeting, he goes good. He does really great. But he's still young. He's still learning. He's not your seasoned campaigner that you've got to rely on banging points home and away. So they're kind of a little bit lacking a big Polish star, in my opinion. But yeah, that move probably to leave Batchelor out and knowing Batch, it's going to leave a bit of a bitter taste in his mouth. So he's either going to come out really firing or
just a tad.
Go on,
Yeah.
I can imagine there's some few choice words behind the scenes today when that decision was made. And that's the crazy thing in Poland. They can change that team. About an hour before the meeting.
That's what they said. They said the decision was made literally an hour before the meeting started, apparently.
I mean, I've been involved in the room, and like the club has made a decision, and I'm like thinking, what? You can do that? And they're like, yeah, we do this. Yeah, this is best for the team. And I'm like, this is not best for the team atmosphere. This is just gonna, just divide everybody.
An hour before,
it's crazy.
It's just going to cause a problem, and the riders that it's not the riders' fault, but they, at the end of the day, it's cost Batchelor a meeting, and it probably is thought. So Adrian is probably thinking, took my place, even though it's not Adrian's fault.
Yeah.
But
so what about for you boys?
I think that was a crazy one.
Here? What about for you boys? You don't have that luxury in the UK, but if you did, is it just another unnecessary equation that gives you the option to backfire? What I mean by that, if they couldn't do that, or they didn't have the extended squad, that decision couldn't have been made. And does the team manager have too much of an input in Poland, do you think? Do you know what I mean by that?
It gives you flexibility, I guess, for like I said, they're practicing quite a lot. If there's a niggly injury or something that someone's not 100%, you have that chance to go with another rider. Where here in the UK, we're locked into our 1 to 7. We normally make the decision, 72 hours out from the event. So that team's locked in. So if you've got a guy that's sort of like 95% fit, but not quite right, and you're kind of hoping, is he going to be right? Yeah, that would help in those situations because you don't really want to run someone that's not 100%. So, you do see a lot of riders, I know I did a lot in my career, you're riding injured. I don't know, most riders pick up niggle injuries here, there and everywhere during the season. But, you're talking, say, if you've been off for 3 weeks or whatever, and you've had a break and then you've got to come back, but you're kind of a week shy, you've got to go because you're out of the team otherwise, unless you do a rider replacement or get a facility. But it brings its own challenges. It's nice to work with the 1 to 7. I prefer working with 1 to 7. You're trying to get the best out of the guys, and then you don't have that animosity with the riders. Because I can assure you, it's not a good environment to be in.
So moving on to the match you boys just watched. I did watch the start of it. Your world champion touches the tapes in the first one, sets the scene for the rest of the meeting. I'm guessing losing only by a handful. Questions going to be asked of Gorjo. They expect a lot out of their home meetings and their big name stars.
I'm sure they did, but I don't think they're going to criticise Smarslick because he did pretty well after that, didn't he?
Yeah.
But it's a bit like Swindon. We got Jason Doyle. And when he goes out and he does set, he does give the riders a lift. He goes out and wins each one, which, 9 times out of 10 we're expecting him to do it. And then there's times he's going to get beat or get 5-1, but that's just the way it goes. But it does set the standard, that's for sure.
You got to understand too, like everyone is out there doing their best, and you will if you race motorbikes or race anything, you will get beat. You can't win every race; it's just not possible. But the first meeting and that everyone's sort of so engrossed and wants to get you off to a good start, and there'll be disappointment, and there probably will be conversations. But if it's a good club, they'll realise that everyone's done their best. It didn't probably pan out the way. It's the start of the season. There'll be reasons, but not just the management will be disappointed, the riders are disappointed, the spectators, the fan, well, not the spectators in this case, but the fans will be disappointed. Everyone feels it when you lose. It's just like it's a virus.
Not the fans.
I'm missing the word, but But it's, and then when you win, everyone's so ecstatic, and it's like, well, brilliant, but you might have just been a bit lucky. But it's a hard one to balance it, in a team environment, So
right, here's one for you both, or all three of you. Does it prove how much one race above your opposite number matters? Emil Seyfudinov races the first heat, gets 4 laps under his belt. How much of an advantage, if any, does that prove to have over his opposite number in Smarslick, because he's gone out and beat him a couple of times as well? Is there a setup advantage by running that first heat as opposed to Smarslick missing out?
I find it very difficult because when you first get to a track, it's either, if it's been a hot day, it's going to be a little bit extra water, and we all know until 3 or 4 races down the line, the lines move out a little bit. The track's a little bit slimy at the beginning because if you don't, it just becomes a dust bowl. So it's very difficult. What I do find, I always think about it as well, is like the riders, the number ones in England. Like Jason will go out in heat 1, heat 6, then he won't go out till heat 11. So it's quite a long gap. And, knowing, like I say, with Jason, I know he's always on the case of keeping an eye on the track, but such a long gap where the 3 and 5s are out more consistent in them earlier races.
Yeah, but when you go away for the away rider in the UK system, the number 1 will come out in heat 9, so there's a bit more of a steady program for them to sort of filter back information. But no, you're right. The edge that Seyfudinov had over Smarslick, psychological, big advantage. He's popped out the start, he's won that one, Bartos has touched tapes, he's got to wait another race. And like I said, that very first race, whatever's at the start of the season, you're on edge. You're tense. You want to get it over and done with because there's been such a build up for so long. I can understand anyone makes those mistakes, but you just can't do it on a regular basis. But I think we did see that actually through the meeting because Smarslick was never really comfortable all night. He put on some bold moves like he does, and nearly got cleaned up. And if Jerry ever shows us the race again, but with Pavlicki,
no.
But he was riding above himself in the end, and it's like Emil's got off to a good start. He's probably touched on the setup pretty good. The Lesno guys just popping out at the start. And if you know the background, Lesno is normally pretty grippy. They normally prepare pretty, really nice and tacky. Where that today was quite slick, and probably the Gorzoff guys thought, we've probably got a bit of an edge here. And then boom, 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 the Bulls jumped out, and I think they were on the back burner. So even at a full strength squad, I think the result probably wouldn't have changed.
No, agree.
Cool. James Poppin just put on there that the Polish normally have sparring matches before the season starts. Yes, James, it's called practice. Their practice is a bit like sparring. So we're 3 matches in and a rescheduled one tomorrow. If obviously we're going to have to wait till tomorrow to have a look at all 8 teams. Out of the 6 that have rode at the moment, given all the variables, given that Smarslick didn't ride a race, Mark and Roscoe, is there a team that you think, look, they're going to be contenders? Obviously, Leslie have to stand out after a solid effort away. But Mark,
yeah, I think you're right.
Roscoe,
I think you're right. Lesno again, as we touched on, good reserves, got a good top 5. Cologier didn't really hit major form today, but he did steadily. Brady got a couple of good seconds in there. And got the pick in 14, which was good. And I think they're going to be the ones. I'm going to say Mark, Chesterhover, and Rossiter.
Yeah, it'd be good to watch Chesterhover
it'd be different.
tomorrow.
It'd be very surprised if you don't without them top 3. I even looked at Selena Gora today, and whilst they are, they're going to be good at home, I don't really see them really sort of getting there. I think out of them 3. Lesno, Chesterhover, and Roslav. I think I'll be very surprised if anybody else comes into that frame.
Yeah, well, I've said Bellevue for the last 5 years, and we've not won the league, so I'm not predicting nothing.
Did we win the league last? Oh yeah, we won.
Yeah, you did, Oscar.
I'm just watching something in the background. It looks like.
Right, I've got this video. I've watched
stormer of a meeting as well since he come into it. He's rolled off 3 now. I've watched in the background of highlights.
Who's that?
Robert Lambert.
Yeah, he
Robert
did
Lambert,
really well.
yeah, hell of a meeting. Yeah,
He's on fire.
His first race, he came off gate 4, and I thought he'd stopped. I thought the red light had come on, and then the guy interviewed him, and he said his bike just cut out, but he had such a short gap between his next race. He just jumped back on the same bike and won it by a proverbial mile. Then he went 3 wins off the bounce, and then he got a second in the nominated.
So
and he was quick all night.
Yeah,
he was definitely quick all night. Like the fastest time. He
wasn't that far behind the guy Jepsen in the race where his bike cut out at the beginning. He was literally on him.
No, he caught them. Yeah, caught up the pack real quick.
Yeah, he caught him up.
In fact,
but Jepsen just closed
like a
the door
roadblock
on
in front of
him each time.
Yeah.
Right, I've got this
Jerry?
race with Bartos. I've watched the video in the background. It's working. So if it doesn't work now, I'm going to throw this laptop across my garage. Here we go. Right.
We got something, Jerry.
Yeah.
We got something.
Come on, Charles.
Here it is.
There we go.
Come on, Charles. You normally can't shut him up.
It's just strange why Pavlicki went out wide there. I don't get why he went out. I know he's got him back there, but why he went out? Why didn't he just stay where he was?
Yeah, it's on this. It's this bend here, isn't it?
He's straight lining him, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to be fair, in fair to Pavlicki there, Bartos does park it.
He does,
You know?
yeah.
So
There's nothing he could have done
I think
about
for
it.
your comments, Jerry, that they kind of shook hands and everything was okay. I think Bartes sort of put his hand and said, "Whoops, sorry." That was kind of my fault.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But
So
he's
this
like,
move here, this one here is ridiculous. Just dives up the inside. Like
That's
fully
Golub-esque,
committing. That is committing.
and this is the first match of the season. You know.
Yeah.
And look, you boys.
Oh, look, he does. He puts his hand up to say sorry. Yeah.
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 Your boys say that it's the first meeting of the season, but I don't think of a Premier League team that goes down somewhere and the excuse is it's our first match.
If we lose, yes, it is. Yes, we've sat here, not trying to be super critical. All I said at the start was, I was really revved up for some massive Polish racing because, I guess, they come in after some Swedish and some British league racings. They're on form and things are going well. I just watched that first meeting and, as much as I was happy to see Speedway, I probably expected a little bit more. The hype was there, Polish season coming back, everyone's in quarantine, all that sort of stuff. So, look, I'm not I could nowhere do half the job or a quarter of the job. I just think as a fan, I maybe expected more, and maybe that revamped my enthusiasm for British Speedway, because even down at Plymouth yesterday, seeing a couple of the youngsters have a few moments really maybe that's what I'm in for. That's what it's in for, but and the smell down there, it was a really good day, and hearing the bikes live, I really hope that the tight, technical, grippy little tracks of Britain are back soon. What's this here?
Can
we have a shout out to Wayne Jackson.
Wayne Jackson.
Right, okay.
Sadly passed away, didn't he?
Condolences to the family. Absolutely. So look, there we go. Hopefully tomorrow night, Chester Hover will show their true colours, because I think they got the team on paper that I think is probably gonna.
Is it at Chester Hover?
Yeah, it is.
At Chester Hover, yeah.
At
Yeah, it is.
Chester Hover, yeah.
Because obviously, the meetings I've seen at Grusans, it's quite very, very concrete. And the only passing I ever see at Grusans is on the first and second turn, where somebody makes a bold move, swoop round the outside, just gets that blip off the fence. Because it's just literally quite solid there.
At Grusans, we saw that move with Bartos just diving in. They go into turn 3 and 4 at Grusans, and you're thinking they're not coming out of this. And then they'll just go. And Nicky Pedersen's at Grusans this year. And I tell you what, this is going to be pretty interesting to watch, because he won't leave any room. There's not much room at the best of times. So that is going to be a must see, I think.
He's still got it in him, you reckon, Lemo?
Oh yeah, the fire's there. He's box office, isn't he? Whether he goes out and he's dominant, who knows? But he's coming back for Sheffield, and I can't wait to see him back in action. He's still doing it at a high end level. He's 43. It's quite impressive, but he doesn't really need the money, so it's he's obviously doing it because he wants to do it.
Jason, really.
Wow, true.
Yeah.
The difference with Jason's been out for 8 years, and when Nicky's been racing
constantly
right up, so it's different levels. I think.
I think it's great news that he's back in Britain. He's a good guy. Raced with him at Wolverhampton. Always had a good relationship with him, and when he puts that helmet on, he's a different animal. But when that helmet comes off, he's one of the nicest guys around. But that's how people are. Not everybody's DNA is the same, is it?
Yeah. Now going back to the rain off at Chester Hover, it made me laugh. Obviously no one knows what the track was like and the reasons why. They obviously made the right call, because none of the riders seemed to be sort of saying too much, so it was probably pretty tacky on. We saw some practice and it probably looked okay, but we don't know what rain went down and what the race lines are. But then Bomber Harris goes, I would have rode it. It was just you gotta love Bomber, and he would have rode it, and he would have rode it good too, But unfortunately, these modern motorcycles aren't really designed for those.
Well, I think
we talked. Got a chance, doesn't he? Eh?
I listened to your comments the other day, Charles, about we're talking about modern day motorbikes. It proved it in Voyens that the laydown is so difficult to ride with dirt on the track. look at Voyens. You had good guys last year that got in so much trouble because these guys with the short baby engine in with the small flywheels they just react, and that's why they can ride them screaming him in flat out in Poland on the slick tracks. They just come in and they can nail it, no problem. When there's a slight bit of rain and a bit of dirt on the track, they're just so unpredictable, these laydowns. They're nothing like an old Speedway bike was like, and I was fortunate to ride them as well.
Lee was saying that about the youth bikes the other day. He was saying that in Australia they're racing the upright style 4-strokes, and he said they also have the 2-stroke 80s. He said, but the 2-stroke 80s are just wringing the tits off it and going everywhere, and all it's doing is teaching the kids to go flat out and just hold it there. You know, where they can learn some throttle control on the 4-stroke bikes because of the way the engine works. You know, which is quite interesting.
Put a spin on what you've just talked about, Roscoe, the upright and laydown. Like, in all my honesty, I think if we were still on uprights, we would still have the short conrods and the small flywheels. So we wouldn't have got away from that evolution. So I think that's probably what's changed. It's the configuration of the engine, not the actual design. So I think if we could go back to some longer length rods that give you the torque, so the boys have to use the throttle, pick the dirt up, and no one wants to sort of go slower. I know that, but we're preparing tracks for the engines, and we probably should be preparing the engines for the tracks. You know, so
100%.
We've kind of slightly got it wrong, but
there's a lot of guys that can use a throttle where you just look at some of the guys. I remember we went to 2016. We took the British Speedway side to Croatia, to Dario Pavlich's track. And, the guys were just coming out and they were just like 4 laps, just on the stock, just no throttle control at all. And it's just all about speed and speed, where if it was like Mark said, maybe lengthen the conrod, it would give the engines won't be so expensive to run because they're not just screaming all the time as well. It would make so much of a difference. There is ways of making it better and policing it.
But I love that. When you had Magic Janowski on the other day, and I love the fact that he's he sort of admits that his time in England has honed his skills on these tight technical tracks, and it's part of why he's got to the level he's got at. I've heard Matty Zagar say the same thing. So what's happened, I think, is we've created an atmosphere in Poland with these big, fast flowing tracks, and they've got to be baby smooth, and with these engines, and you can ride them absolutely flat out. And with the air fences, add the air fences in there, these boys are riding at another level, and they are got them tapped. And the racing, I think if we looked at Roslav Grand Prix last year, if anyone watched that was some of the best racing in the world. But that was just like a concrete billiard table. It was so slick, and there was minimal dirt on the outside, and they were swapping and changing. But does that create skill or craft? No. But does it give great racing? Yes. There's just a real hard balance to have, but
you're relying on a lot of riders getting the setup perfect to create that as well. Like, there's a couple of moments I've just seen now of the last meeting. Kasperzak comes up the inside here, and you think game on, cut back, and it's just one little mistake, and Kasperzak's clear all of a sudden. So margins are fine, but if you get the riders, you get enough riders, and I think that's probably where the Grand Prix stands out. Is you got the best chance if you got the best 16 riders in the world, racing similar prepared tracks. They're going to eventually, at some stage, come up with the goods and provide the racing that gets us going. Amazing.
Cream always rises to the top.
Yeah. It does on this show. Look, Roscoe's up the top.
And me.
looks like he's got a hate.
It's not saying much for us then, Charles, is it? Eh?
No. The Aussies are down under, mate.
I think that's why you're down below.
Yeah. So we are at an hour and 15 minutes.
Wow.
So we'll wrap it up. But before we go, Lemo has the merch from the Team Australia stuff. Still, what stuff did you have, Lemo? I've got the photos. So we got the t-shirts,
6
A
hats.
shirt.
It was a hat.
And send them to Charles's address.
Yeah.
A shirt, a polo shirt, a stubby holder, and a cap. Now that you've got it up on the screen, I have to give it away now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've already put them all into a.
Fingers crossed.
Put them in.
See what
I've
I
got
got in
them.
my thing.
Oh,
See what I can give away.
Oh, go on,
They've all
Roscoe.
gone. I can't
What's he
find
got?
it.
Go on, listen to him.
Oh, we'll find
So
Jerry.
we've got this random
Roscoe's got
number generator.
Nah, ain't got that one.
So I can generate a number. So
Okay.
Lemo, how are we going to give it away? We've got 3 items. We do 3 giveaways, so one person wins one thing.
What's
I was just going to put it in one box and send it all to one person. But
So
is that a
you
giveaway,
want to do
Roscoe?
it to all one person?
Yeah, why not?
All to
it's
one
your show.
person. Right, let's do
Yeah.
it all to one person. So this is whatever number this generates now. Number 50.
That's my lucky number.
Is it? Right.
Not at
Now
all.
I can go to screen share application numbers.
Look at Jerry. You are
Yeah,
cool.
go, Jerry.
Let's see if this
Bit
works.
disappointing your backdrop
Doesn't look
today,
like it
Charles.
worked.
Mate,
Right.
thanks, Lemo.
Number
Where's your hat? Where's your hat?
50.
And your shirt in the background.
I've just literally walked in, said I'll have me dinner in a minute, and just plugged on. I've had a minute.
Wow.
I've got to do it all again tomorrow.
I can't even pronounce that. So let's I'll bring this in through to the chat.
Go on.
So this guy's name is
He's obviously Polish.
he's Polish. Yeah.
Oh, you'll love it then.
Mas.
Yeah.
Time.
So this guy.
He's
Peter
Hungarian.
Zalegi.
Oh, he's Hungarian. Oh yeah, this is the photographer guy.
Yeah, he can't win it.
Can't win it. He did contact
Dude,
us, and I think he's
Yeah,
involved.
come
He's
on,
involved with
he's
Speedway.
there.
He's involved with Speedway.
No,
Let's
he
go with him.
can't. Got to give it to a
No.
fan.
Got to go to a van. Right. Okay. So we're going again. Number 19.
Oh, you're a
Oh,
harsh taskmaster there,
Charlie.
Charlesy.
You want
No,
to
you
get in
can't.
when we meet
Like,
soon?
no, you
It's your
can't.
show. It's your show.
So we've
And
got
who's
new-
paying the postage to Hungary?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I'll just send it to you guys. Speedway post.
No,
Yeah.
Mark, it's your stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
So
Yeah.
we have got a new winner. So the winner
Yes.
of all of the Team Australia stuff.
Hope it's the woman that wanted the stubby holder.
No, it's
Hey, Tom
Tom
Waller.
Waller.
That sounds British.
Tom
There
Waller.
You go.
not. There we go.
He's won it.
So there you go. You've won
Where's
all of the
Tom?
stuff. So if Tom
Not
can
the States, is
send
he?
me a message, and we will
American
get
flag in the background.
you sent out all the stuff. Again, thanks very much for all of your. What's he saying?
Roscoe, was that a Team GB wetsuit?
Gary Phelps.
I don't-
What have you got
what's
to
that
give
all
away,
about, Roscoe?
Roscoe?
I don't know. I'm not sure myself. Probably one of Phelps' in-house jokes.
Oh, do you want about your giveaway thing?
Yeah, I was just trying to find something. I couldn't find anything.
You'll
That was the
find
nearest
out,
thing I
Roscoe.
found.
Cool.
Next time I
Right.
come on,
So,
I'll bring something on from Swindon.
Perfect.
all right, wicked. That'd be much appreciated, and yeah, it'd be good. Maybe we should start doing chatting with the teams. Have like a dedicated Speedway chat show to Swindon. We can bring on some of your riders, talk about what's been happening in the winter and stuff like that. Maybe that's an
Something
idea.
different. Something a bit different.
Something
isn't
different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Lemo, do you know anyone at Bellevue we could speak to?
It? 7. Well, no, 4. 4 at the moment. 3 at the moment, Lemo, isn't it?
Soon,
Yeah, we only
soon
got
you
three-
can
we only
win,
got 3 in the
Lemo. I want to
country.
see Steve.
Yeah.
Where's Steve,
Steve.
Lemo?
Steve's in bed. We've got loads of baby rabbits out there now.
Wicked. Wicked.
All right, guys.
Stuff. Thanks for coming on, lads. Hopefully,
Yeah.
tomorrow's meeting brings up some big storms, and then we can do it all again next week, can't we? And get some more footage. Good
Yep.
stuff.
We got any predictions, score predictions for tomorrow?
Oh, they're going to run away with it tomorrow. I'll go out there and I'll say 58-32 to
Oh, too
Chestover.
much.
Nah.
58.
No, we had a 55 on Friday, wasn't it?
I'll go
I think Chestover are going to be
52-38.
way too strong. Yeah.
I go
52,
54.
38.
54.
What's the other number then, Roscoe?
42. 42.
Here's one thing is
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jerry, what are you going for?
Yeah, I think Chesterhove are going to win it.
Yeah.
55-35.
Yeah. Okay.
Pasty.
Yeah. The Chestover got to be in the 50s, barring some
Yeah, I think
scoof,
so.
don't they?
Mechanical gremlins.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to go and have my roast dinner. It's in the oven. Good stuff.
Good man.
You got to wait there, Charlie. We're going to just say bye to you boys. We'll put you just backstage for a minute. We'll be back in a second, Mark and Al.
Maybe I'm not having my
I'll
dinner.
just put you
Stay
there.
safe, guys.
Yeah. Cheers. So yeah, another great show. That went hour and what have we got? Hour and 25 minutes already. So that's
Jeez.
way more than we was expecting. We was expecting a 40-minute show. Got some good news. We've got a sponsor for the channel that's confirmed today. They've sent me an email earlier today. I haven't spoke to Charlie about this yet, but he knows about it because he was there yesterday and we spoke about it. So that will be announced on Wednesday's show, and we'll sort of tell you all a little bit about that. They're just helping with pushing the channel to reach more people and sort of build what the Speedway Chat show is all about, and talking to riders and
Having chats.
backstage feel. Yeah, having chats. We might even have some new uniforms to be wearing as well, hopefully by Wednesday.
Oh, awesome. Look forward to it.
So thanks very much, everybody. And please put in the comments below what you think of the show, what you think we can improve on. This is obviously a new format of just chatting about the Polish meetings that have just gone on. We're going to try and get Charlie home before the end of the show next time. So
I work 7 days a week.
Thanks very much, everybody. Like I said before, Charlie's been running around the UK the last few days with, if it's not doing Speedway Chat show stuff, it's actually doing his 9 to 5 as well. So cheers, Charles. You smashed it this week, buddy.
Cheers. Done some miles.
And
awesome.
Remember to keep liking, sharing, commenting, and we will see you on Wednesday.
Oh, awesome. Good.
Yeah. Speak to you soon. Adios.
See you then. Stay safe. Bye-bye.